Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And yes, welcome back to the program. Just getting the technical issues sorted in the back end. And I'm joined now online by Abu Bakr Sayed from the Saaberie Chishty Society in Lenasia. And we're going to have a quick discussion around COVID-19 burials and what they have experienced thus far. I think there's been two janazas that have now left the Lenasia area as a result of COVID-19. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Abu.
Wa alaikum salam, Azhar, and wa alaikum salam to all the viewers as well.
Now, I understand that it's not the easiest of things to be involved in the janaza committee, the ghusl, the burial of people on a normal, under normal circumstances. Now we have COVID-19. What have you experienced thus far in the two situations that you have faced?
So I'd say, Alhamdulillah, our team has been quite prepared to try and do these COVID deaths. Our team have been training all along. And in one regard, we are also fortunate that Allah has chosen us to do this type of work. So with regard to preparations, prior to us initially when we heard about COVID-19, we've been receiving training with regard to wearing of PPE, the donning, the doffing of PPE, the procedures. We worked quite closely with medical doctors, etc., to try and get a better understanding of how best to protect our teams. And alhamdulillah, all our volunteers have been trained. And in this regard, trying to make it more a safer approach to try and help during this COVID-19 pandemic.
And some of the procedures that are in place. So what happens, when you get that call and it's known to be a COVID-19 case? What are the procedures thereafter?
So initially, when we do receive a call, we need to inform the authorities. So the health authorities are informed, the police is informed about it, National Institute of Communicable Diseases are all informed about the processes. Before we even go and fetch the janaza, either from the house or from the hospital, they need to be informed. Then they would sort of also be present at the mayat, be it at the hospital or the house. They come and they sort of observe that we are following the process and the procedures properly. So one of the processes and procedures is that when picking up a janaza, we need to ensure that it goes into 2 body bags before being transported to a facility. And the facility would be the burial center where we're conducting the ghusls. Also importantly, the area is sort of disinfected. So we make sure our disinfection team is part with us and they conducting the disinfection as we're moving along. So the minute the janaza comes out of the house, they disinfect in the janaza box, etc. And this is prior to leaving the house. The hearse is then disinfected. When we do come to the ghusl center, before we take it off, the team is waiting for us at the ghusl center. And alhamdulillah, we're fortunate in Lenasia that a lot of volunteers are coming forward to assist. So we have a large number of volunteers assisting from regard to security, even a disinfection team, even our ghusl team. So when we do arrive at the premises, the ghusl team is standing by. They already donned in their PPE, waiting for us. And they sort of take the janaza inside to perform the ghusl.
And the ghusl procedure, which is the symbolic washing of the body, uh, is it actually with water and or many areas have opted for the option of using tayammum, which is just the wiping of the body perhaps with dusted hands. But how are you doing the ghusl?
So alhamdulillah, thus far, shukr, we've been doing the ghusl like normal. So, I mean, that's another thing we'd like to perhaps tell our listeners or viewers is that unfortunately it is sad times where we do lose a loved one, etc. But again, rest assured, because of the dedication of the volunteers, the little research that we've been doing and conducting, we do conduct a proper and full ghusl. So yes, the full ghusl is done. The mayat is donned in kafan, and we bury with the kafan, etc., into the, you know, going forward. So with regard to that, it's a full ghusl that's been done. We do not do tayammum. There is no shortcuts. Alhamdulillah, our team is quite prepared. The male teams and female teams is quite prepared, and a full ghusl is done.
And then there's the family obviously wants to be, it's their last moments with their loved ones, and traditionally they would be at the forefront of all of this and be involved in it. But under COVID-19, it's perhaps a little bit different. How do you expect the family to behave or conduct themselves in these circumstances?
Again, I think it's a good thing, and it's a good thing that we're doing this interview. For the simple reason is that we try to mentally prepare our communities, and that's the ultimate aim, to try and mentally prepare them to say that unfortunately reality is that we are going to see more of this. So by them becoming more mentally prepared, knowing that, you know what, it's not like before, and these are few challenges that needs to be done. People will, there is volunteers that's willing to assist. The organization is willing to assist with the janazas, and that's where the family sort of just unfortunately need to step back. But what we have done is allocated or made provisions for the family to witness at least the ghusl being done, to attend the janaza, and to partake as much as they can during the mayat itself. It's just that limited sort of before you would expect, and obviously it's a child's right, it's a family's right, firstly to do the ghusl. But in this case, I think family are obliging because they know there can be spread of disease, etc. And that's why when people are donned in full PPE, they conducting the ghusls.
Mhm. And then the cost structure that's involved in this. I know your organization, Saaberie Chishty Society, has been phenomenal in assistance towards the community. People at times can't afford the full payment for janazas, and all of that kind of costs get looked at. And now with the regulations and what's required in a COVID burial, it may escalate. What are some of the cost implications in a COVID-19 janaza?
Gee, unfortunately, the cost implications are huge. And the main cost implication is really the donning and the doffing of PPE. So PPE becomes quite expensive. So if we look at it, when going to collect a janaza, you require at least two people in the hearse who wears full PPE to try and go and fetch the janaza. At most times, you need more assistance for people to try and help you carry it down, carry the janaza out of the house. They also need to be donned in PPE. And then the disinfectant team also is in PPE. When you come to the ghusl facility, you have four people that's dressed in PPE already waiting. Before you enter the qabr, also you need PPE. So when we're talking of this PPE, we're looking at the mask, we're looking at the coveralls, we're looking at gloves, etc. So for one mayat, at times you're looking at about 10 of these outfits, which does obviously put up the cost quite tremendously. And also at the burial site itself, we've got assistance of a TLB to try and close the hole. Because again, by passing a spade from one person to the other person, that spade can get contaminated. And in this way, we can spread the disease. So in this case as well, that makes it slightly different from all the other janazas. If you'd find a TLB or a tipper, which helps us to close the hole. And
So
then
all of
also
that goes up.
also require body bags. So you require two body bags to transport the janaza from the house to the facility. And then after ghusl, we put in a new clean body bag. So again, you require two body bags.
And the finally, Abu, one is support to the organization like yourself. I mean, you may want to call on people to ask for donations or to assist and help your costings. And how do you feel? I mean, coming home from that situation, meeting your family once again, you and your team are putting yourselves right at the forefront, and becoming frontline workers there. How does it make you feel as a human being? How do you take it?
I think it's initially that we've sort of been mentally prepared about this. We've been talking about this for a long while, and now we're seeing the reality is actually happening. Yes, it is sad. You do feel for the family. You do feel quite sympathetic for the family, is because it's something that we're not used to. We're not used to, as in our community, going to a mayat house where there's only few people inside a mayat house. You're not used to that, where people have to stand away or shy away from the deceased. And reality, this is what we're seeing, which is becoming very difficult. And also, like you're going back to the point is, so the sympathy is there out there. We really feel it for the deceased, etc., the family. But when we come home, initially we take the precautionary measures of taking out our clothes, disinfecting, and going to a shower, bathing. Because yes, end of the day, we have to also protect our families and make sure they're safeguarded and we don't transmit any of the diseases home. But again, these people that died, like the ulama I've mentioned, they die as shaheeds. So we also look at it in that regard that we are fortunate that Allah Ta'ala has chosen us to try and do this work. And Alhamdulillah, we're blessed in that we can go forward and try and do it. And likewise, we call out to all the people in the community who's willing to come out, who's willing to assist, to please join us. This pandemic requires more people. We require more volunteers. We require more assistance. It's something that we as a community can do together. And that's what we're finding in the Lenasia area itself. The community specifically scientifically is coming together and trying to assist, irrespective of differences, everything. But everyone sort of come together to try and assist. And I think we're going to see this throughout our country.
Abu Said from the Saaberie Chishty Society, Jazakallah khairan. Thank you so much for your time this morning. Allah bless you. Allah reward you for the wonderful community work that you are doing. And Allah keep you safe as well. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.